What if I told you it's possible for music producers to make multiple thousands of dollars, not per month, but per week selling beats online? In fact, in this video, I helped two producers to make several $1,000s a week in deal size without a YouTube, without BeatStars, and one of the producers was not even known and had less than 500 followers on Instagram. Well, I'm gonna pull back the curtain in this video and show you the exact process that we followed from the context, the strategy, all the way to the implementation so that you can go out and do it for yourself. And before we hop into the video, if you want my exact sales framework, I call it the Rapid Sales System, and you can get it for free by going over to Instagram at Kobe Sample Source, DMing me sales, and then I can send you over a full video course breaking down exactly how you can position an offer and start selling high ticket right now. All right, guys, let's break this down. So we have the first student over here and the second student over here. So I think the most important thing to start with is the context, number one. So to get context, one producer when we started had 40 followers. The other had 11K. One person over here has a lot of sales experience. So I'll just put the infinite symbol there. And then the other person over here has 0 experience. So we're starting from different places, but when we talk about like what kind of goals we ended up achieving, both of them ended up making 2,400 in a week in deal size. So how does that happen? It's because you need to figure out where you can put leverage points depending on where you're at. So let's break down what I did with student number one that got him to the result. So the first step is when you have 0 experience in terms of using the method that I use, which is using Zoom calls to sell beats versus YouTube type beats and that kind of marketing. It's going to be a lot harder to get that set up with 0 experience and only 40 followers. So the number one thing we had to do was install a client acquisition system, which is essentially like steps 1 through 4 for how to acquire a client the way that I acquire clients. Now, over here, we already had a client acquisition system, and the main problem we had was when we get onto sales calls, we're not getting sales. We're not able to get people to buy consistently. So the percentage of people that bought was, and I could be wrong on this, oops, put it in the wrong spot, but I think it was anywhere from like 5% to 15% were buying, when typically my students will close anywhere from 25% on like the low end all the way up to 67%. Okay. So that's kind of like where we wanted to be, and this is where we were at when we started. And over here, we're making $0 per month. So we had a YouTube that we've been using that wasn't really bringing in sales. So it's like, okay, we're really starting from 0 in terms of putting the strategy in place. So number one thing we had to do is change the brand perception here. So you need to get more followers, and then we need to essentially, get the right brand perception by changing into a personal brand instead of an unknown brand with like a logo that's not showing our face. So what we did as a solution was, number one, we posted 5 pieces of content, and these showed our face. So we have our face in it, and we have the beat playing in the background. So essentially, if you do that kind of thing instead of just showing the beat off with a visualizer, what it does is instead of them saying, oh, I like this beat, they're like, I like this producer and I want to work with them specifically. Way different than over here. Because if they just like a beat, there's tons of beats. So it makes you a commodity. But if they like you specifically, there's only one of you. And hopefully there's only one person that really looks like you, right? And you don't have any doppelgangers running around. All right, so basically this is going to allow the value to go up so that they want to pay more since it's a human being as the brand instead of just the beats as the brand. So on YouTube, your beats are the brand typically, versus over here with the personal brand, you're able to charge a lot more. Okay, so that's the number one thing we did. Number 2 was, hey, we have no followers. We have 40 followers. So that's not really going to allow us to scale a business. So number 2, what we did, once we have the right brand perception here in terms of like, I'm a real person, and we're putting the music out there, we did follow for follow. So with follow for follow, a lot of people are against this, but the way that I like to do it is follow 100 people a day for a week. So you get 700 people following. And then we're at 40. And then this went up to 250. Once you get to 250, that's good enough. So then you go over here on your phone, tap on your following, and then tap on the least interacted tab, and then unfollow 100 a day. Okay, until you get to this number where it's 250 and 250. So that way you have good following to follower ratio. Now, the thing to keep in mind where a lot of people get in trouble is you can't go and follow 100 people all at once. What you can do, though, is do 20 an hour, or you can unfollow 20 an hour. So I'd follow 20 an hour times 5 hours, and you're not working for 5 hours. You just go and follow 20 people at a time, and then stop, and then the next hour you follow 20 more people. So it takes 5 seconds to do. So that way it takes me about 10 minutes a day to do this. And it takes, once I get up to 700 followers, 750, then it'll take me 10 minutes a day to do unfollowing. And then about 2 weeks in, for us, it took us 3 weeks because we didn't do 100 every day. We got to 250 and 250. So once we have 250 followers, 250 following, it looks a lot better than 40 followers. Okay. So that was the second thing that we did. Once we have that brand perception established and we have the personal brand established, the third thing was the client acquisition system. So I'll call that CAS, client acquisition system. And basically this involves 4 steps. So 1, we have to find artists. 2, we have to message them on Instagram. 3, we want to get them onto a quick call. And the reason for this call is we want to establish rapport, get them to like, know, and trust us without us selling anything. And then from there, we're going to go to an actual sales call. Okay. And you can do it through regular phone call. You can do it through WhatsApp, Telegram, Instagram audio, FaceTime, Zoom, Google Meets. You can do it through anything. I prefer Zoom. Just because it's more of a household name than a lot of the other ones. A lot of more people know what it is. So when you install Zoom, then you can just go through that. And then 90 minutes later on the Zoom call, they typically will end up paying you if you're a good enough salesperson. Okay. So really, we like to find the serious artist from Spotify. And the reason why I like going through Spotify is because if they pay $20 a year for their music, they're likely to invest in other things like mixing and mastering, album artwork. They're also more likely to invest in promo, and you guessed it, also beat sales. Versus if they only have music out on Apple Music, a YouTube music video, or SoundCloud, they're going to be less likely to actually spend money because they're not even able to spend $20 a year on a DistroKid account to distribute their music. So if they're not on Spotify, that tells you something about them that they're not likely to invest, versus if you see them on Spotify, it means they're more likely to invest just by default. So we find them from Spotify and we go to the IGs and message them. With the messaging and the intro message, I keep it really simple. I want to be very specific in terms of like, I listen to your music, but I listen to a specific song. Mention their name, mention where you heard the song from. It would be Spotify in this case. And then I like to give them some sort of compliment. So then I'll tell them something that I like about their music. That's, again, it can be specific or it can be light. It doesn't have to be a lot. But after you give that compliment, you want to ask a question. And this is going to prompt them to actually respond, instead of you just leaving it that and leaving it awkward with just the compliment right here. So once you've given the compliment and the question, then you wait for a little reply. And after they reply, then basically I follow a format that I call AA. So AA means 1, acknowledge, 2, ask the next question. Okay. So a good example would be if you're sending like a text and then another text, you can have an acknowledgement in the first text and then asking the next question in the second text. That'll allow you to get in the habit of responding that way. So a lot of producers want to focus on themselves, But if you focus on the artists, what you'll find is that they'll appreciate it more. They'll tell you exactly what they need in order for you to sell them. And it'll be a lot better experience for them instead of you just DMing them a big, long, blocky paragraph that's spam, that's copy and paste it, where you just talk about yourself and introduce yourself. So instead of introducing yourself in a big, blocky one, then you can just send a real small one with the 3 steps we talked about to introduce yourself. And then after that, you'll send like an acknowledgement and then asking the next question so that you can get them to respond a lot, get them to warm up to you quickly, and then get them in position for the next step, which is instead of selling in DMs, which is a major mistake I see a lot of producers do. So don't share your price in DMs. Don't sell in the DMs. Don't promote your beats. What you want to do instead is try to get onto a quick call where you can talk about their goals. You can chop it up with them, just kind of become friends a little bit, where you start to get some rapport going. And the reason why I like this is because people don't buy from people that they don't like, know, and trust. So if you go onto YouTube and you type in how to make samples and a producer pops up and shows you samples and then says, buy my stuff, you're not going to buy it the first time you see them because you don't like them, you don't know them, you don't trust them. But if you get a lot of value from them and you keep following them over time, then basically after a while of you going back to that same watering hole, now you like, know, and trust them enough to actually buy. So that's really the whole buying process. So to speed this up, this is why I call it the rapid sale system. In this one call, we're going to get them to do all 3 of those things. And we're going to establish and position ourselves as an authority, as a music producer. We're going to ask them questions about how we can possibly help them with their album, their EP, their singles. And then at the end of that call, so most of it is just asking questions in the first half. And then at the end, which isn't even the first half, it's really just like the very end of the call for 30 seconds. We are going to pitch them and say like, hey, would you want to hop on to a Zoom call with me and preview some beats? And really the reason why that's important is because if you go and pitch on this call and you tell them the price, then they're not going to buy it. They absolutely are not going to wire you money right away and be like, yeah, what's your Cash App? Let me send you a bunch of money to this person that I don't know, like, or trust. So instead, you get them onto a second call. And because you already have the rapport established and you did not sell them, it's basically an anti-sales call. They're more likely to buy on the second call because they actually are like, hey, I appreciate somebody who will establish rapport first before they talk business. All right, so that's what you want to do on that call. And then once you get onto the Zoom call, that's going to be a little bit more complex. I won't get into it in this video, but I'll try to link a video up here at the top so that you can go to that video. So if you see something pop up, go and click that. But it's a little bit too complex to talk about in this video because it's going to have like 8 different steps in it. So I'll go and link you to that video. Go and click that if you want to learn how to do the sales calls through Zoom. All right, so that is the method here. And basically what kind of result that we got from that was once we installed the system, after 74 days, this system spit out a $1,500 sale. So you're like, well, why if it's so rapid, why didn't we get a sale immediately? It's because we had to get good. We had to spend 3 weeks doing this. So if you take 3 weeks off of 71 days, it really was around like 53 days or so. All right. So we had to go and make sure we were trustworthy first. And then we had to get good at the skills enough to where they actually would buy from us. So people don't buy from people who suck. So you have to be good at it. So once we got good at it, we made $1,500 here. And I'm not saying that he's an amazing producer, by the way. Really a ton of respect. But in terms of doing a system that you've never done before, you're going to suck when you start doing it. I mean, that's just how it is. It's how I started. Okay, so we got our $1,500 sale. And then last week, we got 2 sales times $1,200. All right, so 2 times 1,200 equals 2,400 in a week. So that is, I believe, a $9,600 a month run rate. So we get to a $9,600 a month run rate within the program that I have for my students. So really a huge transformation from having 40 followers, 0 previous sales experience, no pieces of content up, all the way to making 2,400 in a week. All right, so that's exactly how we did it. So I wanted to pull the curtain back here. Now for the second student, and hopefully you're tracking with me. Maybe I'll switch over to a different pen. So this is what's called a pattern interruption. So hopefully you guys are retained so that you pay attention to this one, because this was a lot more specific what we did. I kind of explained that, we already have 11,000 followers. We have placements. He has a lot of experience with running funnels, ads, generating leads, all of that stuff. So the main problem was when we get on sales calls, again, we weren't getting the percentage that we wanted to buy. All right. So with that in mind, I want it to be very analytical and very data driven. So step number 1, track data. All right. So once we track the data, I want it to be very analytical. So step 2, what I did was I started analyzing his calls, and I use an AI tool called Fathom to do that. So Fathom.ai, you can get it for free. And essentially what this does is it's an AI note taker, allows me to quickly get to the point where they're struggling within the sales call and fix that so that he can make more money. Okay, so my whole job is to literally make you guys tons of money. So anyone who's a student of mine, I work tirelessly until they have a profitable online business. So that's my whole goal. Now, another thing to note is we reposition the niche and the offer. I think that is one of the biggest things that we did. So repositioning. Okay, so what is repositioning? So what this is at first what we were marketing to was trap. And so we stopped marketing to trap because that doesn't sell high ticket as much. So instead what we did gospel, hip hop, and we also just did regular hip hop. Okay, so by changing to gospel, hip hop, and regular hip hop instead of trap, and then instead of finding artists from like hashtags and promo pages and things like that, instead of doing that, we found them with Spotify. So I don't think I have this on here, but when we reposition the offer, we also reposition generating leads. So instead of posting content, instead of going out and going to promo pages and videographers, we went on Spotify and did exactly what we did with client number 1. And that allowed us to find super serious artists immediately and allowed him to start selling to them, right? Now, after these 3 things, what we ran into was where the biggest problem was we were charging $1,500, and we were trying to break it down to where they did half up front. Okay? So half up front. The reason why this didn't work is that a lot of people don't have $750 up front to spend with a stranger. So what we did instead was we charged a little bit less up front, and then we made it into a recurring revenue model. So instead of doing like half and half, that's like pretty standard practice, but as the price goes up, it becomes less and less doable for artists to do half and half. And because they don't know us enough, they're not likely to do that. So we're not exactly solving a big enough problem for them to want to go out and throw it onto a credit card or something like that. So instead, what we did is we charged a little bit less. So he ended up doing $1,200, and then charging a payment plan that split this up into around like 3, 4, 5 payments. And that allowed us to get deposits up front. So we use Stripe to get the deposit because then you get their card on file, and then you can bill them 1, 2, 3, 4 times. And then every month you get more money. So that's really like the name of the game with recurring revenue, is that over time you make way more money than up here being like, hey, here's the bar to entry, pay a bunch of money. And then when they can't pay it, you don't make money. So instead, we lower the bar of entry so that he could go down this path, and by month 4, he's going to be making thousands of dollars recurring income without putting in any more effort than the initial effort to sell this $1,200 deal. So we sold two $1,200 deals in the last 7 days. So hopefully that makes sense in terms of converting somebody from not being able to get any sales, having no prior experience, all the way to making $2,400 in a week in deals, versus somebody who has a lot of prior experience, but there's one thing that they need to adjust that's going to help them to open up more business. So either situation you're in, whether you're very, very veteran experience or you're unseasoned and you haven't really done a lot of this and it's completely new to you, I was able to install a system in their business that was serve them specifically, and it catered to what they wanted to do, so they didn't have to compromise what they wanted to do in order to make a living off of this or to reach their financial goals. This is the best way that I found to make at least $1,000 a week organically without running paid ads and being able to charge a lot, get a few artists to buy, and make more money than someone who charges a little, gets a lot of artists to buy, and still makes very, very little money. So hopefully this video was informative on how you can make several $1,000s a week as a music producer. So make sure you follow these steps in order to replicate that. And if it's not simple enough in this video and you need more help, then what I would invite you to do is schedule a call with me below, and I can personally talk to you and customize a strategy so that you could see results like this. And if you want one-on-one mentorship from me, I offer that as well, but you can schedule a free consult. There's absolutely no risk. And if you're not quite ready for one-on-one help and you still want the cheat sheet for sales and you want my exact sales script, then simply go over to Instagram at Kobe Sample Source and DM me the word sales so that I can send you over the free course that explains everything. And also the script's going to be included in that course. That's a downloadable PDF. So thank you so much for watching this video. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, leave a like and a comment, and I'll see you guys in the next video.